so this internet thing, the internet country, that's going to happen, and so you kind of have to take the implications of that. And if I were to summarize that in perspective, it's like Norway's like a big master plan community. And just like imagine you were running that as a master plan community, and just like imagine what you would do, and sort of do that. And I think that is a perspective that people have changed. People often see countries as a very different category, and it is a category, but it's also an organization. It's an entity. It's a human organization. Countries are, they're not that different. I think they're of its type because of the history and philosophy in it, but also I think because of the incentives, because it is a monopoly and because they do exert violence. But I think they will look more and more like kind of products. Certainly, some countries will look like products.
I'm always very curious about where big ideas and big projects come from. Sometimes it seems like it's divinely inspired, a download from the universe that gets something big going. Other times it seems like these ideas are meticulously workshopped by the creators. Today's conversation is with Sondre Rasch, the co-founder and CEO of SafetyWing. You may know SafetyWing as insurance for nomads, but the company is actually so much more. I first connected with Sondre at the inception of Plumia, their country on the internet for digital nomads. And it turns out that SafetyWing's founders envisioned this country on the internet from the very start. Their very first pitch deck already contained the seeds of many things like their ambassador program, their retro-futuristic visuals, turning countries into products, many things that make perfect sense now in the year 2026 as we see how the world's reshaping itself around the internet. But when this team first entered Y Combinator to work on their insurance startup, it was a pretty grand vision to execute on. From his experiences entering Silicon Valley's intellectual scene and tips for joining the community, to his experiences becoming a father, rebalancing work, traveling the world, and dogfooding. I hope this conversation will help you connect threads of the future we're part of weaving together. All right. So joining us today, as you said it, from the center of the world, from the Greater Bay Area. How are you doing today, Sondre?
Good. Yes. Calling in from the center of the world. And it's lovely as always.
And so how long have you lived in the Bay Area now? Talk to me about sort of the shifts you've observed as you've sort of moved through your phases of life and I think sort of seen the whole scene there.
Yes. So I came here 10 years ago. I moved from Norway to join what was my previous startup, Superside, got into YC, Y Combinator. Then I lived in a co-living house up in Woodside with 12 other entrepreneur types, and it was great. It was a great time in Silicon Valley history.
Yeah.
It was the ending times of a period that has been going on from earlier there, where it was like very fringe still, but that was about to end big time, right? Like tech startups was like no one cares, like, so it's on its own world, right?
Yeah.
So it was allowed to kind of just live in its own world without the sort of eye of Sauron of the broader culture looking at it much beyond being like very nice, kind of like that's the end. And so in this culture, you had these super fascinating subcultures that I love and some that I've decayed and I miss. One that I really miss is this kind of like the kind of unreasonable optimist wing in Silicon Valley, associated with this project called Singularity University.
Oh, yeah.
Which took a few strategic turns that didn't go so well and kind of spaded. But I really liked that there was someone that was even more optimistic than me.
Yeah.
And I felt like those people were kind of that. So, although, yes, so that was one thing that was there. And of course that has its roots back to transhumanism. And And I would say it has a modern equivalent in this accelerationism idea, right?
Yeah.
Where you had which is an old kind of meme stream in Silicon Valley. These like people are very much in the future and thinking about these things, Marvin Minsky and others. And they have the core idea is to transcend is this transhumanist idea, I would say, is
Hmm.
to transcend human limitation with technology. Which I think like a lot of people would to some degree agree to, but then they might draw a line somewhere. And I think that's
Yeah.
the main differentiator, is that these people in the Bay Area, they wouldn't draw a line anywhere. And that's kind of where,
Mm. It is. It's like
you know,
a freeness to explore something that's like unboundaried in a way that just that's the underlying like culture and like belief and value system that helps like drive innovation, right? Pushing things to edge.
Mhm.
But there are moments where you start to wonder like, oh, maybe some boundaries are good. And
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And then I went to, I mean, back then, I mean, there's so much cool stuff in the Bay Area. Other subcultures, I mean, Burning Man is its own
Mhm.
kind of broad subculture. It kind of comes and goes. Of course, there are people who are just like perpetually in the Burning Man culture, but for some larger group of people, it kind of comes and goes with
Yeah.
the next event is coming up, the next burn is coming up, and that's its own fascinating culture that is like nowhere else. I mean, I know that there are these Burning Man copies. I don't know how that copies that particular culture, but I
Mhm.
certainly found it very interesting at the time. It's not a festival. It is something like a city. It's like almost like the distillation of the sort of frontier of this like
Yeah.
um it's absolutely a fascinating place. It's part of Bay Area culture that
Yeah.
it's actually the easiest one for an outsider to kind of easily check out because it's
Mhm.
by ticket. Um and then the third one that I was very much steeped at time was the sort of rationality. So that's like less wrong, and there was this co-living house lighthouse. They used to have a lot of events. Effective altruism really got a bad rap now, but at the
Yeah.
time was very ascendant. And I knew a lot of this from before. This has been
Yeah.
something following since I was early teenage years.
Yeah.
Um, so that was like another, and this is part of, and there are other things that and of course, startup culture is its own
Mhm.
subculture. Y Combinator is I still feel like it's the kind of beating heart of startup culture, but
Yeah.
it's a broader phenomenon. And that's very much alive. Uh,
Yeah.
and then it's also surrounded by something you might call big tech. It's all the product managers, kind of like Apple and Google, and um, that went down a bit during COVID, which I think was good because a lot of people moved out
Uh,
who worked in the big tech companies.
a little more breathing room.
Yeah, like just a higher share who are
Yeah.
like more early stage.
So
Um,
interesting to think about that.
hmm,
Yeah, one of the early conversations we had in season 2 of the podcast was with Michelle Bowen. And one thing that stuck with me is his discussion about sort of the balance of the market, the commons, and the state. And anytime, you know, there's somewhat finite level of like order and value to be like created and captured. And anytime that one or two get too heavy, they take from the other. And we kind of live in an era where like the commons is the thing that just has disappeared, and unfortunately in a lot of ways where the market and the state have been providing so well, and that's almost become like its own problem to solve. I'm curious to hear about your co-living experiences.
mm. Gosh,
Like, how did that shape you?
I loved it. I mean, it was quite a few years, but peak colony experience was this SU villa in Woodside. So the context here is like this is a mansion. It's kind of like a
Mm,
Mac mansion.
yeah.
And it's like kind of nice, right? It still was like rather cheap. I think I paid like $250 for my room. So like was this one guy who kind of like held the lease and then
Mhm.
rented rooms, and we were able to get a lot of rooms. So it wasn't that expensive. And then, many of these people are to this day my close friends.
Yeah.
And they're just so lovely. And they're all, like many of them, Soren, Sandro, many others, Gabe, they're still like my friends, Marco, there are others. And so, yeah, these friendships were formed. When you live in a co-living space, you get social life for free.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work, actually, when you're
Yeah.
like not in a co-living situation, at least in that particular part of life.
Because it's a more like it's a car geography, right? So you kind of need to plan the logistics around that as well.
Yeah. 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 It's a lot of yeah. And just kind of make the initiative, right? That's
Mhm.
friction.
Yeah.
Or you gotta like go somewhere, you sort of, the micro socialization, like meeting up with a friend in the afternoon. But if you
Mm-hmm.
go in space, right, you just walk to the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love doing that, right? So I would like come back and there is amazing people just sitting in the couch, right?
Yeah.
And then just go deep on some topic that I was obsessing over. So this I really loved. And then of course there were hosters. So we held these events, huge parties. Like I remember we had this we had parties that like 500 people came to.
Oh my. Yeah.
Yeah, big parties. Um, we also had like interesting parties. We had this I remember this basic income. It was actually where I met my now wife. We had this like basic income fundraiser, and Sam Altman came, and many other like futuristic talkers, and
Mhm.
we had like like a sound bath, kind of like art thing. It was like this perfect like kind of like Bay Area thing, like kind of very startup-y, like a little bit hippie, and just lovely. Um, so we had great events, and so yeah, so that's what I love the most about it. Is just like you really get to upgrade your social life because you kind of can do your social life with a team. And
Yeah.
also, I was very fortunate with that particular co-living though, like just a good group.
Yeah. Was that something that you sought out when moving to the Bay Area, or was it like a mix of like budget, location constraints, or how did that come about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I wasn't co-living, but a tiny co-living, like like not a co-living, but like what is it called? Like I was sharing an apartment with some people,
Mhm.
like when I first arrived, like an Airbnb, and that was fine. And then I just went to this dinner at this co-living house
Yeah.
with this guy Soren, and then I was just like, I just said, "This is amazing. Can I
Yeah.
go on?" And so yeah, a couple of months later, someone was moving out, and so they sent me an offer. But I didn't even know about co-living. But now I say to
Yeah.
anyone moving to the Bay Area, like, there's not a lot of ways to break into the networks, but there's a way.
Yeah.
All of it, the co-living houses, low effort, and you're
Yeah.
plugged right in. So, and now there are other places too. There is this Frontier Tower. Oh, you asked me how the Bay Area changed. Yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
like the Singularity, the kind of the most extreme optimist, and they're kind of gone a little bit,
Mm.
sadly. Spectral they're kind of discredited, but also in a way they were right in some ways. It's very comical because it's like they got really terrified about AI, and then but all the early AI companies were built by these people. Like if you just
Yeah.
look at employees at OpenAI early, all of them Anthropic people, they're all like
Mm.
kind of rationalist EA people,
Yeah.
and so that's like paradox. So yeah, and startup culture has gone mega mainstream, but also went back a bit, right? Thankfully with COVID, right? But it is mega mainstream, and it's not a sideshow anymore. It's the central show,
Yeah.
which is strange, right? Which has also, I think, caused this wrestling, right, and interweaving with tech and politics,
Mhm.
right? So now, these threads are intertwined in a way that it's much more painful. Like you can't just do your fun thing. I
Ooh.
think you get big. I mean, we can, but I mean, if you get big, right? I mean, if
Mhm.
you're Mark Zuckerberg or Sam Altman or something, right? You sort of you you can't escape
Yeah.
that.
I think one of the threads I found interesting to tug on that, and I didn't come up with this idea. I saw it on Twitter and just like ran away with it, right? Is how many problems are like downstream of housing regulation. Like if you think of the cost of living crisis or even like the fertility crisis, it's like, okay, you look at this. And I've gotten into following a lot of accounts that like talk about like architecture and urbanism. And you realize like some of these like iconic designs, like you see like mansard roofs in France, right? Oh, that was like a tax loophole. And it just you start to see like how much of like our lives and our built environment are the result of like policies. Like the policies may be invisible to us, we might not even know it, but it's really shaping our world, right? And it was so interesting to hear about, again, it's just the easiest example to point to. It's like Elon Musk saying like at some point I had to like get involved into government because I was running into like regulatory issues for like why I could not launch and like build my rockets a certain way.
Mhm.
um and I think taking the jump from there, I said to you before, I really love how SafetyWing is like chasing this mission. And I always love businesses that like, yeah, are really like mission oriented. I think it takes you to a place and it unlocks like a level of creativity. Um, and I don't know, it's just like the whole sense of like alignment around a mission and something that's like greater than just like, we're going to do this to make money. Like you gotta make money in order to make it sustainable to like achieve those goals, right? But um it's about putting those in like the correct order of priorities that I think is actually like more powerful than just the pure like what's my piece play.
Mhm.
um so you know in terms of regulation, obviously in terms of like the role of government, um please, like I'd love to hear about just how SafetyWing sort of got its start, because do I recall correctly that you like had a stint in government in Norway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I did. I worked for like almost 2 years as a policy advisor at the government of Norway, and I ran these amazing projects. One of them was on the social safety net. So it's like, imagine like a 6-month project. I'm evaluating what should be our policy, and it's like it's a very kind of broad mandate. And
Hmm.
it's like we form this like expert committee, we do a conference, we do this like, crowdsourcing, we talk to users, and we have a lot of like, we kind of invite anyone in to come, and they will come talk to us. So I learned a lot through this about the sort of safety net, and I care about it. It's also during this time that I kind of get discouraged by government, like, it's too big, it like moves too quick, like it's never going to adapt in time. And I leave for startups,
Yeah.
but, but I certainly found things that I like as well. And also, probably this helped me for starting SafetyWing is I just knew what it was, right? So I just had some knowledge of
Yeah.
what these things were. And so when I then started a Superside freelance platform, and I discovered this issue that, oh, the freelancers, they kind of don't have income protection, they have so variable income, they sort of don't have
Hmm.
social safety nets because they're kind of contractors for a foreign company. And oh yeah, like the solutions to this is to make a global social safety net.
Yeah.
And inspired by some things that I liked about the Norwegian one, like universality and um, universality, which means it's the same for everyone, and also
Yeah.
simplicity. Yeah. Mm.
Hmm. So it's yeah, this gap in coverage because so I guess I'm used to thinking about like the US based like health insurance is tied to your employment, right? Was that the same case in Norway, and that's like why people were sort of you know in the gaps? Or were you looking at like the
No,
freelancer
not.
market like outside of Norway at that point, and that's when you saw the
Yeah, yeah,
problem?
yeah. We're a
Hmm.
global freelance platform, so in some
Yeah.
sense, it's less of a problem in Norway
Hmm.
than other places.
Yeah.
But still, in Norway, some of your things is tied to your employment, but no, not
Mhm.
all of them. So
Yeah.
you do not get some baseline
Yeah.
coverage even without. But but no, But in most countries, it's more than Norway. And even in Norway, it's quite significant. Like you have dramatically less social safety
Yeah.
support if you're not kind of an irregular employee for a local employer.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we set out to build, and also had this intuition about how the internet would evolve.
Yeah.
I already had this sort of like premonition just from observation, just being in that space in the sort of freelancer world, and also having a bit of a sixth sense for government stuff.
Hmm.
That like, oh yeah, like we're gonna make internet countries like sometime soon, and not exactly sure when. And that I also had this sense that oh, this could probably go very badly. Like kind of had this. I was there, around Napster's time, and I really had this sense of like, oh, crypto is Napster for countries, or could be.
Yeah.
Uh, like in a many different similarities to that, right? Which is that Napster was very narrowly focused. They weren't trying to be like, oh, we're going to be the like music economy, right? They
Hmm.
weren't. They can think too thought about like income for artists,
Yeah.
right? It was very sort of rights driven. Like information should be free.
Hmm.
It's information, therefore you should be able to share it. Like end of that. That's kind of the whole thing. It's a very
Yeah.
narrow philosophy. And and Spotify uses very similar technology. It's peer-to-peer sharing,
Hmm.
but they take broader responsibility. Um, and because it was Napster, they also went through this terrible period in the 2000s where the music industry was suing
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
startups. So anyway, I sort of think a similar thing could have happened in this domain, like in the transition to internet countries.
Yeah.
We could have kind of had someone like a crypto project basically stumble into making the first internet country, and then it's kind of dystopian by accident
Mm,
because they were just looking at a very narrow slice.
right.
Yeah.
And then all of like the associated like bad press and branding around that would then spoil the opportunity of internet countries for others. Was that part of the concern or?
Well, it might lead to a conflict state.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, now you're touching on several of our like early strategies, right?
Hmm.
Which is one, we wanted to create the utopian version.
Hmm.
Okay, so we're like, okay, we can stumble into the dystopian version. We're gonna make sort of a mad dash toward like what we hope will be like a lovely state. And then the other thing is that which is to kind of create a friendly dynamic. So I think that the relationship between future internet countries and states, the common landholding countries
Hmm.
can be kind of based on fear
Hmm.
and banning, right? Kind of similar to the music industry versus its incumbents.
Yeah.
Music startup in the 2000s, but it can also be the countries like opportunity, like
Hmm.
competition, trying to
Yeah.
succeed, right? And I think both were on the menu. I would say here, actually, I would take Plumia deserves some credit, like single-handedly putting us on the more win-win trajectory because of the Nomad Visa story,
Hmm.
which has, I think, not only is it a great case study and it's like, I think it might be very important long term, but it also, I think, did a lot to anchoring a lot of the kind of public policy debates
Yeah.
on a win-win, trying to succeed, not this like fear trying to ban
Yeah.
it.
So it was when Sarah, Sarah Sadness and Sam Klassen were in Chiang Mai for Nomad Summit
Mhm.
that I was introduced to this whole idea of like a country on the internet. And it was fascinating to me because I'd heard of SafetyWing up to that point just as like the digital nomad insurance company, right? That was my familiarity. I saw like, oh, okay, they're sponsoring this digital nomad summit. Makes sense. And then someone invited me to come speak on the panel since I'd been sort of doing the digital nomad visa advocacy. And just still to this day, just like one of those like huge aha moments that's still like reverberating like across my life. I think as part of that panel discussion, the idea that like, they say that they're, death and taxes are like the inevitability of life. But then the idea that like, oh, what if you looked at taxes as your subscription to your country, right? And what if like instead of your citizenship just being something that you're born with, this is something that there's actually like a marketplace for? Like, let's look at countries as service providers. And it's kind of like how you're talking about like Burning Man earlier, just being like a city. It is that like that playful sort of way to like unlink ideas. Like most of us just go through life just assuming these things all go together, and we don't always like take them apart to see like what's actually struck, like strip away some of like the accoutrement to just find like this is the bare bones, like what it is. And so to me, this whole idea of like SafetyWing and the adjacent project of like Plumia of like, okay, we want to create a social safety net. We want to enable like an internet country. A country as a service provider. We're going to start with, the social safety net. To me, it's just like, oh, right. You stripped away all this stuff. You just like looked at the scaffolding, you looked at the frame, and you're like, that's the problem that we're going to start with. Like, how did you guys do that?
Yeah. How do we do that? Looking back, I don't know. Like, I don't know where that got into our heads, but it was there from day one. And I thought the early days of SafetyWing were very romantic and kind of inspired in multiple ways. So I'll give a couple of examples. One is when we started working in the company, the first 3 months we're just drawing birds.
Very whimsical.
Yeah. So this is like, there is this, and I think there's so much information in that act. And one of them is this idea that kind of art, birthplace of ideas. Like many years later, it was like a new designer who kind of said like, oh, the birds live in the world we're trying to make, right? And yeah, I think that's fairly true, but we didn't know that. We thought we were just making like, icons, like we were just making graphics we needed for the website. But I later that there like realized that like we were making art, and there were like ideas embedded in those early drawings for the kind of world we're trying to make. I mean, I thought that really came out once we started to we had to make this B2B version, and everyone wanted to be like slightly more serious. I mean, of course, it's extremely whimsical visual still, and they came out this like very sort of retro futuristic.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like just right. Immediately, everyone was like, this is just right. Which is this like, for those who don't know, like retrofuturism is this like, it's like this art that looks like futuristic art from the past. And what it does to you is like, it's kind of like remember the future.
You remember the future that was sort of promised or like seeded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was forgotten. And so, yeah. So anyway, that's one part of early days of SafetyWing. The other part of early days of SafetyWing is just that this whole range of ideas was all day one ideas. So yeah, I was home, was, in Norway for Christmas. Sarah and Hans, my co-founders, were there. I was still at Superside, and I'd been trying to get someone else to start essentially SafetyWing for a year. And we sort of realized like no one else is going to do this, and we sort of decided to start thinking about it, like to do it ourselves. And that's when we made this like kind of like initial slide deck kind of, and it has every idea we're still talking about here was there, like just immediately, like it's kind of intuitive. both just from like distribution, like kind of the idea of like platforms and ambassador, like being like kind of the right way for us to get customers, to like the fact that we will make global social safety net, that will become the first country on the internet. But that we'll do that sequentially, we thought then.
Yeah.
So, and many other things. Yeah, like this, our kind of product philosophy that has to be global first, that it has to be simple, flat pricing worldwide, everything. Yeah, many of these core ideas, they were all there on that first day. You know, a lot of it we're still
Yeah.
trying to build all these years later. I mean, it's a big project. But yeah, so that's kind of how, I don't know how that came about. But I think a lot of it has to do with this like unique vantage point. I think that's it. I think it's like,
Yeah.
it's the combination of like working in freelance world for some years, digital nomad, but also having the kind of government angle, and then just having the right perspective where this kind of looks obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's a very clear like through line to like where we are in this moment. Like just seeing like, you know, in terms of thinking about like how to survive like the ups and downs of like the market and the funding cycle. You guys like identified a problem that is like now like relevant and just becoming even more relevant. Right? Like you alluded to, we're sort of at this moment where there's like tech and government are kind of like, especially in the American context, are like closer than they have been in some time. Like, you know, from that first like pitch to Y Combinator to sort of the environment that you're operating in now, like what has sort of been the perception perhaps on like the big institutional side? Like, do people
Yeah.
take you seriously then? Do people take you any more seriously now?
Yeah. So by the way, I should also say that that thing you said, very much agree with this. The country is moving from monopoly to competition. It's exactly the transition that they're going through. And that's, I think, what a lot of people don't fully realize, because they think it's like,
Yeah.
oh, everything that happens will be things that they want. And that's not true. Some things can come from a dynamic
Yeah.
where, and one of the big dynamics differences is the difference between being in a monopoly situation and a competitive situation. So, but yeah, how's that changed for investors looking at us? Well, I mean, earliest days, even remote, is kind of like fringe. Like, you know, we don't hide it either, but we like strategically, like we don't highlight it. We would say from the beginning that we intend to make an internet country, but I think for most people, like they just, no one has ever reacted badly to our mission. Everyone says, I hope he's like, they're like, at worst, I think they just shrug and say, these guys are ambitious, but like probably not going to happen. But they don't tell us it's probably not going to happen. So they just, I think they just like, but it still kind of counts slightly positive with investors, because it's like, oh, they're ambitious. That's nice. Like, plus. And some people do take it seriously, but they are few and far between. I do remember one person who took it the most literally of any investor, which was Paul Buchheit, the partner at Y Combinator. So he was like immediately like, oh, it's like, oh, countries, that's the biggest monopoly. Like, yeah, that I can see that was $100 billion company. Like, it kind of said, he immediately connected those dots. That almost never happened, right? That someone takes it like fully seriously, literally. And of course, I'm sure it's also, I think, especially among users, because we've been putting this on our front page as well since the beginning. I think among users, a lot of them just think it's just like, it's kind of like they're so used to marketing language, they just think it's an analogy, right? They just be like, oh yeah, our travel insurance is the country because we say it is, right? That's, I think what a lot of the users think. Like they
It's
don't.
just this branding and storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it's not like I have a lot of evidence of that. That's just my hunch. But yeah, there are some that do take it seriously, and they almost universally love it.
Yeah.
So we do. It is the kind of company where you just find friends
Yeah.
around the world who become these like kind of allies. Would love to kind of see this come about, and so it's a very sort of positive company to build in that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you spoke about your ambassador strategy, right? Like, a lot of companies rely on advertising. I remember being at a startup, like an e-commerce startup in New York, and just being there on the team when they were deciding to like make that shift to like spending on ads. And it was just like such a huge leap in terms of spending. And it was my first exposure to this and the idea that like, oh, you have to commit thousands of dollars just to calibrate. And then that's when you start spending the real money. And that was kind of like a mind-blowing insight to me at the
Yeah.
time. And you guys don't spend on ads. Like you just went in a completely different direction with this like ambassador affiliate program. And it's clever because like, you know, in a very non-trivial way, you guys basically like subsidize the whole digital nomad lifestyle because for many people, like the first question, right? But because like remote jobs are kind of like a normal thing to look for now. But once upon a time, the first question, if you wanted to be a digital nomad, was like, how am I going to sustain myself?
Yeah.
And the idea that there's like, here is like a reliable like affiliate program that I can like, use to support my content, like that's huge. And of course, it's clever because you're ensuring that you're going to have customers around, right? You're going to have people who use your product.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I thought the reasoning behind that was all correct, and it remains like I think the only channel for the nomad side, for the consumer side. The rest is word of mouth, although word of mouth is a high share, has been sustainable. So I think it worked really great because we're leveraging our strength, which is kind of like brand, community, and also software. And I should say, when we first designed it, part of it was also just that I wasn't sure we were going to do venture funding route. So we designed both of those like to be like essentially not require venture funding upfront to work. And that one does that, right? We're essentially revenue share with the ambassadors, right? As the revenue comes in, we share it. It's not upfront, except for reduced followers, which we do also quite a bit of, but that's different. So so that is that. I thought that was really good. Yeah, we haven't done ads, and I'm probably being stupid for this, but I was really, ads is kind of off-putting to me. It's very hard to do performance ads, which I have kind of set up a performance marketing program before that even counts in the early days of previous company. But I went like $2 million in the learning curve, and I learned those things that you've learned and other people. And, if I were to kind of fire off a few learnings, one is like, you first start using it, especially if you use retargeting, like it's got to look like it works really well. And that's a combination of things. One is like retargeting, like you kind of just getting people to buy stuff that would have bought otherwise. And it's really hard to shade between the two. Like you got to get so deep on targeting before you figure that out. The other is there's always going to be some keywords that are ridiculously low competition and good for you, like your own name, and related keywords. So there are these like extremely low, like attractive things that you're checking out. And I think they also subsidize early days to get you hooked kind of on the AdWords, good stuff. And then, but anyway, initially it just looked like, oh my gosh, like we can get customers for free here infinitely.
Yeah.
And then you go to learn, and then it's learning curve. Then it turns out it takes like 2 years and so much work to kind of learn how to do that well. And through the process of doing that, one thing you always got to do is you got to make this systematized way of generating different ads and testing and keeping the ones that work, etc. And we set all of that up, and that's how you get good at this. Okay, so here comes the sort of moral problem that I found incredibly embarrassing. That, which is that's when you do that, you make clickbait.
Yeah.
Which you can, of course, then go deeper and deeper and make it less clickbaity, but for at least a while, a lot of the time, you make clickbait, meaning you make things that trick people into buying, but they're not necessarily your best customers. And I'm talking here years of like, this problem, why is this working, this entangling, going one layer deeper in tracking, like imagine not tracking from sales, like clicking through from sales, but like into retention and over time, maybe into referral, right? Like that's the level you got to do. And what you find is this thing, like if you start a performance marketing program, you go through these deep periods of making clickbait ads where you get one, bad customers, but two, you also sort of a little bit hoaxing people.
Yeah.
So this is really bad. So and then also it's like high competition. Like these are public auction markets. Like you're not going to have any competitive advantage here. Right? It's like you and GE and PG&E are bidding for the same publicly available real estate.
Yeah.
And they have more money than you. So like, how about you come up with something more clever than that? So that's another thing that I just don't like about it. And so we just decided like, we're just not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so we did the ambassador program instead, other things.
Yeah. I think so much, there's a significant part of the internet economy, which is just like the attention economy, right? It was a new medium, and it completely transformed media. So if you think about it, like, what do you want to support? What kind of like stories? What kind of like, if you reduce it to like clickbait, like what kind of clickbait do you want to see more of in the world, I guess? But it is like, okay, if I think about it, it's like SafetyWing is responsible for like, people saying like, hi, look at my beautiful lifestyle that I'm like living over here, learn about like exciting destinations around the world, like learn about how to do this like freelance entrepreneur thing to like become your own boss. Like it's not all perfect. There's like plenty of like, sloppy Instagram, like wannabe content out there that just gets supported as part of it. But if you think about that in comparison to, I don't know, maybe because I'm, vaguely a part of this movement myself, I'm like happy to gloss it over. But yeah, if you think about just like in terms of, maybe I'll invite you into comments, and perhaps some murky waters, where we've been very much in this period of reckoning with like tech's like role in the storytelling and like the media narrative of like what America is as a country and what the project is and what like free speech is and like what's like okay or not okay, so tech has become a moral advisor in many ways, right? So like the decision to like do ads, to play that game, like the whole media of like news advertising, it's like different shades of, you can say it's like different shades of like propaganda in a way. You're shaping some sort of narrative. If you're playing the game, you are contributing to a story. And I don't know, I guess like maybe I'll ask it from the history angle again, like your time in Silicon Valley, how have you like sort of seen that that takes shape, especially as someone who was like, we're not going to do ads, everyone else does, it's so normal, you're just choosing to be weird, and so you're sort of have this sort of side vantage view.
I mean, I have a lot to say about this. Okay, so let me first say what happened. So one thing that happened in 2015, 2016, it was not just Silicon Valley, but it was a broad-based phenomenon, was that everyone suddenly got into politics. And I mean companies. And I don't mean like in a like, oh, sophisticated. No, I mean like in the stupidest way possible. Like and so you would have, like even startups, but certainly the bigger companies, they would be tripping over themselves to say that they, shared the, opinion of the month. And
Hmm.
it's just, and, and then, a few years went by, and then I think people just look at each other and they're like, oh, this is
Hmm.
kind of sad and pathetic, isn't it? And then they kind of stopped. And so now a lot of them have stopped doing that. They did a little bit, but not that much. But they have less of those.
Hmm.
But what they have got done instead is they gotten directly involved, right?
Hmm.
And that the national story everyone knows. But there's also other stories here that I think are even undercovered. Like there's Grow SF in San Francisco, but it's completely taken over the city. So Grow SF in San Francisco is I think it's founded by Gary Tan, the president CEO of Y Combinator, and his co-founder from Cross.
Mm.
And it was kind of like tech getting involved in politics, but this is like now we're talking about getting involved, not like look how nice I am, I share the opinion everyone else has, but more like let's do some work to fix our
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
So it's not a party thing, but it's kind of like headhunting candidates and like recommending who to vote for, and like kind of in a very sort of smart way. And it's basically now has the majority. Like the people who are recommended by GrowSF just became
Hmm.
the majority in the last city council election, and they also
Hmm.
are school council and many others. Like so there was a lot of corruption and important things. So this is I think this is a very positive story, like a
Yeah.
story I think of like good people doing something.
Getting involved in like local government, not just
Yeah,
like politics at the most visible level, but at the nitty
yeah,
gritty level of like,
yeah.
yeah, the city.
So I thought that was, although I think the motivation is the same, what you said earlier, which is Liz, like, oh my gosh, like I used to be able to just build my company and do my thing. And now these people are getting all up in my
Mm.
business. And that's not just through regulation. It was also through kind of social kind of pressure. And so, so that is, yeah, but that's a very healthy, positive thing. And I think this is a good thing. I mean, tech is certainly very talent dense, and
Hmm.
to also be concerned with problems that are what are traditionally performed by states. I think that's a good
Yeah.
thing. Uh, we want more problem solving. What were you saying? What was the question at the beginning of this?
Gosh, I think sort of media, and how advertising and that whole world
Right,
contribute to clickbait,
right.
narratives. I guess
Yeah,
my implication is polarization,
yeah, yeah.
etc.
Okay, yeah, and making more choices, and yeah, I mean, obviously, I think, um, I mean, moral realist. I do think that each. Okay, so here's just a couple of things. One is countries. Uh, this I have friends both, on the left and the right, and this Labour politician in Norway asked me like, so what do you think we should do with the country, Norway, then
Yeah.
Sondre, and I was like, so this internet thing, the internet country, that's going to happen,
Hmm.
and is so you kind of have to take the implications of that. And if I were to summarize that in perspective, it's like Norway's like a big master plan community.
Mm, yeah.
And just like imagine you were running that as a master plan community, and just like imagine what you would do, and sort of do that. And I think that is a perspective that people have changed. People often see countries as a very different category. And it is a category, but it's also an organization, it's an entity,
Hmm.
it's a human organization. Countries are, they're not that different. I think they're of its type because of the history and philosophy in it, but also I
Hmm.
think because of the incentives, because it is a monopoly and because they do exert violence. But I think they will look more and more like kind of products.
Yeah.
Certain countries will look like products. Okay, so that's one thing. As it comes to like startups making choices, I think that you push the world, more towards the abyss or more towards the opposite by every choice that you make. So certainly, yeah, like a lot of people are these like very doomer thing, right? Which is just like, this is going terribly and it's going to happen
Yeah.
regardless. And so I'm not in that camp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the sort of, the optimist camp. We can do something about this one thing at a time, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's just start with something, right?
Yeah.
And I do think that the question of morality is like figuring out what to do next, and to make good choices is it's like making a good choice along many different axes at the same time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, uh, so when a startup makes a correct choice, whether that uh, de- improves, right, the state of something emergent, like the state of media or the state of politics, right? That's a good thing. And that does make the world kind of 5% better, right? It's
Yeah.
real. It's not just something that gets competed away. Like it is, we can't, yeah. So that's one thing I do think. Our approach to engaging, well, throughout all of these years, and I should say, has not been easy. We have just basically like just kind of stayed out of it all, which I should say was really hard. Right. So our purpose was always like, we're going to focus on our own mission.
Yeah.
And we have a view from nowhere. It's like, we're looking down on this planet and we have to, that's our approach. Like, we're not part of this. I think that's the kind of point of view I've been trying to kind of argue internally when these things have come up, right? Because you would remember BLM, Ukraine war, Israel, Palestine, right? I mean, just saying the words almost like explodes your mind. And I do think we've been able to do, like, sometimes we have done very helpful things. We've tried to build, but we've never kind of been like, we think so and so about this
Yeah.
hot issue. We're just like, this is not we have our own war, like we have our own
Yeah.
struggle, we have our own contribution. Can't do anything about that. We're going to do
Yeah.
whatever we can do from where we're stand. And we're going to literally try to do the best we can. Right. And I think we have a very benevolent purpose, but yeah, we're not kind of going to get involved. And
I imagine that you guys were insulated from this to some extent because you have like an international founding team. So I don't know what that means for like everyone's like nationalities at this point. You guys have been like doing this long enough that you can certainly be like, are you guys all naturalized citizens at this point? I don't know, but
still on a visa in the US.
okay,
yeah.
you're still on a visa. Yeah. So, it's an international founding team and it's a remote company, right? And so you
Right.
have employees all over the world. It's not like you just have like, oh, all of our employees are also like Silicon Valley tech people who have
True.
all of these leanings. The diversity of viewpoints is sort of baked in to the company culture.
Very, very true. That's very stabilizing, I think.
Yeah. But I think it's like, it points to, a lot of this, like you can think of something like a mission, vision, values, like exercise can be so fluffy. But I think this is my big takeaway from like the Zappos story and like delivering happiness is like core values are so important because they can be useful to like prevent scope creep, right? Because when a company decides to start like commenting on every like social issue of the day, as you said, like it's like, is that actually like the point of the company? Like, or does this actually like help us in like doing our mission and achieving our goals? It helps you to like know what not to do and sort of keep you aligned, right? Like having that North Star. And to what you're saying, like when something hits on like many different levels, like your morals can help guide you as an individual in making like choices that are in alignment. And then through a company, right, you can express that as well. It's so useful to like not get pulled in the direction of everyone else around you when you have like the center.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's another thing we did. Another thing that's happened in Silicon Valley is this swing from mercy to justice when it comes to like employee treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Too far in both directions from my point of view. So if you go back 10 years, it is all of this, like the kind of joke that you've seen, right? It's like this, like Google was the kind of prototype of it, right? Of this like 2000s to tens, like extremely lax. It's all play and fun,
Yeah.
kind of, and aesthetics, I guess, is one way
Mhm.
to look at it. And you know, it's all sort of like this. The conversation is also very, I guess, to use a kind of like Jonathan Haidt, were like coddled a little bit, like,
Mhm.
you know, it's all like mental health days, and you know, it's like kind of, it's very tilted in that direction. I
Yeah.
would say in a broad sense, you would say towards like mercy, meaning like, you know, people have stuff going on, and you kind of want to, you know, care for them. You want to, like, you know, that sort of
Yeah.
things. And you know, if people are performing, you know, like, you know, they have their reasons. And
Yeah.
there's a lot to, there is something to that, right? But then what's happened now is the opposite.
Mm.
So it's going back with a vengeance. Okay.
Mm.
So like now it's like, you know what the ideal is? Like people talk about it like, oh, I can never do that, but I am trying to do 996. Like this is this like
Mm.
expression from like Chinese work culture of like
Yeah.
9 to 9, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And this like very ruthless suddenly focus on like excellence and like,
Mhm.
you know, you know, are they smart or not, right? And like,
Yeah. I
yeah,
only want cracked engineers. Is
yeah,
everyone locked in?
yeah, everyone did. That's like, that's on the completely other side, right? So this is a
Yeah.
pendulum swing of kind of Silicon Valley company culture.
Mhm.
And I would say throughout, we have not changed that much further because uh, I think we were quite integrated throughout.
Mhm.
Um, Also on this, like we didn't swing that way, and so we don't swing the other way either.
Yeah.
Um, I would say we also have a lot of fortunate things about this, right? Which is that for that first stage, right? For that, let's say 2017 to 2021 stage, we just look harmless. We literally look harmless, and that really helps. Uh, but now I find myself most often objecting the other way, right? Like,
Mm.
uh, because it's not like it's infinitely true. Uh, like, there's a lot of mistakes from the people who are most focused on, let's say, performance.
Yeah.
They have a lot of blind spots, and they're systematic. So, and it's hard to correct for those blind spots, sort of systematically. Like you kind of have to do it in this sort of like abstract way by not being too hardcore, I think.
Mhm.
And one of them is creativity. You know, I would say another is like the trade-off between excellence and genius. Like you kind
Mhm.
of like some people, like imagine two different people, they have the same lifetime output. One of
Yeah.
them, like the kind of McKinsey consultant, churns out those slides every minute, you know, like, but that person is not going to like invent mathematics or like paint the Sistine Chapel.
No. They're operating on a system. They're not creating a new one.
Yeah, but also it's something about variance here,
Mhm.
right? It's like they're reducing their variance in productivity for a very predictable
Mhm.
output. Um, and other people can have a larger variance, but can then do those things. And so I think that a company that goes too far down this like performance route, they have a tendency to drive out creatives and
Mhm.
genius, and then you're not going to build a big company. So
Yeah.
I think that it is not without error. Like it's not just because you feel bad for people that you want to kind of balance the sort of justice and mercy in the company.
Yeah.
It's also because um, you want to allow for a lot of mistakes. You want a lot of swing, you know, in the search for the kind of global optimum of your company. Um, yeah, you can't be kind of optimizing too hard, I think.
Mm. Yeah, I can say also, I think coming back again to just the fact that you guys decided to be like a remote first company, that like even before everyone else got turned on to remote work, you guys were already operating that way. And so instead of say like, topic of the day, uh, like social cause that say like, oh, everyone's talking about like maternity leave, or everyone is talking about like mental health, you already have the solution to that baked in a way that's like agnostic, right? Because rather than someone having to say like the solution to can serve like say both those cases, right? Someone who needs to like take care of children and requires flexibility is also served well by a solution that allows them to just take a mental health day, and say like, you know what? My work is measured not by the hours I log, but by like the work that I produce. So if I just want to like
Yeah.
front load my work and do like a lot of hours today and just take tomorrow off
Yeah.
to like chill,
Yeah.
you have that freedom that you speak of.
Oh, 100%. So I mean, we have that baked in. We have full unlimited holiday, but also minimum holiday. I mean, I know unlimited is common, and it's been widely mocked, but it still does the same job, right?
Yeah.
And this kind of sums up to like, you make your own choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that works well.
Yeah.
It's one equilibrium, right? I am aware that there are other ways to make a company work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To kind of constantly look over people's shoulder and be like, why aren't you working? Like, but for especially a company like ours, where this sort of high, autonomy culture is possible, I mean, I think it's an extremely pleasant place to work.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So I don't think every company in the world can work like ours, but certainly for us, we don't have to. Yeah. And by the way, I didn't mean to say when I used kind of mental health days as an example, like I didn't mean to say that like that is wrong to take.
No, it's yeah.
I just meant to say that is part of the kind of a very sort of merciful HR aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
A lot of well-intentioned, nice ideas stacked together can still equal a dysfunctional system in the end.
Yeah, it can be a bit too much. And I think that was what happened. It was a bit too much to one side. And so that is now gone, in some sense too much to the other side. And a lot of that is corrections that probably were good in many companies.
Yeah.
So maybe it is healthy, but it is also a pretty strict correction.
Yeah. And how has your own personal like work-life balance like shifted? So from like that co-living era where you had like lots of vibrant social life and fun to like where you are now, like what have been the sort of like phases that you've gone through in your relationship of like work versus all the rest of your life?
Yeah. I mean, I am married. I have a son, Noah. He is lovely. We still do stuff. Like, I know some people are like, oh, they just disappear into family life and just check out from the world. We don't do that at all. I still go to events, dinners, sometimes bring we travel around the world for a year with Noah.
Yeah.
So, and that's great. I mean, living in Vietnam is a little bit chaotic, but it's still great, I think. So I think that is, yeah. But I mean, I have entered a different phase of my life in that way. Of course, you can't do as much, right? You have this new thing, which is family life. But a lot of that is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy things, and
helps give you structure.
Yeah,
to work around. Yeah.
But also it's healthy in the sense of like literally like you gotta go for a walk in the woods.
Yeah.
Wild, right? But it's good to walk in the woods.
Yeah. The work of taking care of your children is an intrinsically rewarding type of work.
Yes. And quick plug here for children. It is so positive, you can't believe it. It was the biggest surprise when I had child, is how positive it is experientially, like just subjectively from first person perspective. For everyone listening on the fans, it is so like Here's one way to look at it. Like if I imagine like your top 20 like life experiences ever,
Hmm.
okay, I would say now, and remember, I only have one child and it's two. I don't think it's, if I were to count it out, I think something like 18 out of top 20 is like child related.
Yeah. Aw.
It's just a lot of positive peak life moments. They're just like, and you don't know where, like, I could have one this afternoon.
Yeah.
They're just coming and going like that.
Yeah.
So, so highly, highly rewarding, highly lovely.
It's like one of the beauties of children, I think, is they teach us how to find joy in the mundane, right? Especially like young children. They're just like a balloon. Like,
Yeah,
why does like a balloon just goes up? That's like magic,
yeah,
you know? All
yeah,
these
yeah,
little things and you've started like taking for granted to become background are like so new and interesting to them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's also like, it comes just at a time when a lot of people risk becoming a bit jaded and they kind of done it all,
Yeah.
and then you get a second chance at wonder and curiosity to by seeing, by live, because you can't help look at the world a little bit like your child, because
Hmm.
so you are participating in that wonder, um, which is sorely needed. Um, so yeah, I agree. So anyway, that's one thing. I Yeah, but in terms of like events, exploration, I still do it. I was never like a big party person. It probably maybe sounded like that because I went to Burning Man. Burning Man is different. It's not like the other
Yeah.
principles. Um, so there's no kind of change for me there. Um, I probably am a little bit more wholesome in my activities, like more walks in nature, less drinking alcohol, like
Yeah.
compared to 10 years ago. But I don't miss it. Drinking alcohol is very overrated.
Yeah. And in terms of feeling like showing up at work and like performing in that world, do you feel like you've like figured it out and you've just been focusing on the work, or does it feel like for you you've had to sort of uh there's like an additional job of figuring out how to work?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For me, it hasn't been difficult at all. But I mean, of course, it helps to work from home,
Hmm.
and so the the main thing I would say here that I like there's a deep premise here I disagree with, and I kind of have to call it out, right? And it's not like I don't see the source of it, right? It's like every movie in the 90s of this like, you kind of like, either you have this like blissful family life, or you have this like highly successful job.
Hmm.
If you have the highly successful job, it's because you sacrificed your family life and then you come to regret it.
Hmm.
Right? Um, and I absolutely see that as, a possibility, but I do think that these things can also be integrated perfectly well. I don't, there is, this is a trade-off that can be um, win in the following way, which is kind of quality and like prioritization. So when it comes to the
Hmm.
family life, it's like you don't want 5 more hours of you like upset, stressed, half on your phone, right? Like
Yeah.
to get the child to be quiet. But like what you want is like 15 more minutes of like you fully present
Hmm.
and engaging with what your child wants to do. Like kind of like that's, or in a meaningful like environment like nature, right? Or
Yeah.
home and with the child. Like so, and on the work, right? It's the same, which is that what you don't want is actually an hour, 5 more hours of like thinking I should have got getting some work done now. Like me,
Yeah.
like, just imagine the lowest quality hours you spend. So
Yeah.
working. I mean, it's a disgrace, to be honest. Like it's sad,
Hmm.
and for a lot of people, for everyone, I think the lowest quality hours.
Yeah.
And what you want is the opposite, right? It's for that. It's for 30 minutes of like doing the work on the most important problem or goal, something that is like problem solving or brave or creative, and like taking action, sending that email, like pressing publish. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that is what you need. Like that's the 30 minutes you need. Like so.
Mm,
I think this is where I think that this trade-off is resolved, right? It's that
yeah.
it's not that it's not just an hours, it's not just the quantity game. Like it's you increase the quality of each of those hours and you have
Hmm.
quality on either side.
Yeah.
You actually don't need 12 hours of present quality time with the child every day, right?
Yeah.
That's actually too much.
They need other things too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you do need some time.
Mhm.
And same with at work. Like you don't need the 16 hours.
Yeah.
But you definitely need some more imagination and
Mm.
prioritization and courage.
That year that you guys spent traveling around, like were there very like notable lessons that you picked up on in terms of like for your marriage or for the family dynamics or for your health or anything like interesting lessons that you noted in a particular place?
Yeah. I mean, when you travel with children, there's a little bit more adjustment to each new site.
Yeah.
Um, like you kind of have to find some stuff, like
Hmm.
parks.
Yeah. Where's the playground?
Yeah. Like childcare, right? If you use
Hmm.
that, right? Which we did. And maybe that one is the one that like takes quite a bit of effort each time. I
Yeah.
get through. That's like completely new. Like it's not. Yeah. I should say like if you're saying it like, and it's not like there's no global app on this. Like if you're staying at hotels, they might have like things.
Yeah.
Mm, and but yeah, else it was like using app to choose. It's a little extra adjustment. Other
Yeah.
than that, there's not that much that's extra.
Hmm. Did
Maybe
you sort of like experience certain dynamics or like perhaps like like oh walkability like changed how we did this like having this kind of outdoor environment or these temperatures changed the way that we spent our time that like once you got back to your like normal life you did like decided to integrate?
yeah, yeah. We started to play tennis.
Oh.
Never played that before. Uh, but great sport. It's like
Mm.
I've never played tennis before this summer, and then I like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna keep doing this. It was just fun.
Yeah. How did that come up? Where were you guys when you first started playing?
It was at some club, right? And they had it, and we were like, okay. And then we just started doing it all the time while
Hmm.
we were there, and it was kind of like a bit of like, okay, that's just these months. Like felt like an exception, but then we came back. We're like, it was a really nice thing to do together, actually.
Yeah.
Um, and but your question was like things that I did, and then I come.
Yeah, or just, like, the experience of, like, being in a different place, like, out of your comfort zone or just different, like, city dynamics, cultural dynamics that helped you sort of, like, see different patterns perhaps and, like, how you spent your time and, how you guys related as a family or just
Yeah.
anything very open-ended.
Um, Mm,
Was there perhaps like a
yeah.
did you
Oh, I
guys
have
pick a
one.
few?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So one thing I discovered in Poland that I really love is like theaters for kids or like kind of
Oh yeah.
it's so cool. And I'd never thought about that before, but they do it a lot, and it does exist other places. High recommend. Super fun. Also, just like because going different places, I find these like awesome experiences, and especially these like there are some wild indoor play places. They're
Mm,
like just experience parks up the chart. And so now, like, I come to a new place, I'm like, are there any of these stuff like here? Because
yeah.
it's so awesome. Um, One called Space something in New York. Um, I mean, Vietnamese cuisine, Polish cuisine, uh, Southern California. I mean, I was a bit of Southern California as well, and that's not in LA. It was like between LA and San Diego, like Orange County, Carlsbad, kind of like on the strip, Laguna Beach. And it's a good, it's very interesting because in a way you feel like you've come to a place and they've kind of perfected how to live a little bit.
Mm,
It's too orderly for my taste, and I think for a lot of people, but it still is like you can't. It's hard to blame them. Like it's like this is really
yeah.
what you got going here. This is a really good life. The weather is just so nice all
Mm-hmm.
the time, even better than Northern California, and
Wow.
and it's not fully flat and dead either. Or it's kind of like you do have Laguna Beach, which has an art center. There's you see Irvine. There is some tech like Anduril is there. There is some space development
Yeah.
up there, not just Segundo, but further south as well. So I felt like what did I learn from there? Because there were some things I learned from there that I know we brought home.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we do a lot of evening walks and stuff. A lot of people did
Yeah.
that there, and uh, there are more things, but I'm kind of struggling to put my finger on it. But oh yeah,
Yeah.
like also like micro things, like certain toys, like we saw in Vietnam or something. Type like we discovered things around
Yeah.
the world and we brought them to we reanimated them. So we've learned a lot now, and um, yeah, we also I think we're trying to make this a synthesis now that we're back in
Good.
of like we kind of live different worlds. Like it was like, oh, these 2 months is about that. These 2 months
Yeah.
this other thing. And now we're trying to kind of like keep the best of everything and
Yeah.
reintegrate.
Yeah. That's lovely. How was that travel year as far as like dog fooding and just being your own customer? Like whether for SafetyWing as like
Yeah.
insurance, that come into play, or the more
Yeah.
like global mobility piece?
Yeah, I did. I went to hospital in Poland when we were there, which was a very good hospital. Can absolutely recommend. It was
Mhm.
I can't remember the name now, but it was super good. And it was really good. I mean, in the early days of SafetyWing, it was like because we couldn't control the whole user experience. It was like a lot of it was like, oh, really a little bit embarrassing, whatever. So
Yeah.
it's had to do something because the whole industry, like, they don't have sort of great norms for user experience or customer service.
Mhm.
Now that's less of an issue, right? We do more ourselves. We're not fully
Yeah.
there yet, but yeah, I had a great user experience actually. So it was like
Nice.
a thumbs up company.
Was that the SafetyWing basic like travel insurance product? Or I mean, because I assume like you could, as your
Yeah.
family, like could have like the full on, because you
Yeah,
guys
yeah, yeah.
were comprehensive plans at this point, right?
I am literally a customer
So
of all of our
which tier?
products.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am a customer of all of our products. I believe the one I used there was remote health. So yeah, remote. Um, but yeah, no, I had a good experience. Thankfully, yeah.
Yeah. So the project evolution, you guys started with the travel insurance piece, right? Because you wanted to do the whole global thing. So you had to like learn your way through that, start eating the elephant there. But then you've added on more comprehensive products. And as I think you're saying, like you guys have taken on more of the responsibility rather than just like working with like underwriters and third parties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got like a couple of years ago, we got a carrier license. And so we're kind of doing a lot of the cool stuff that we've been wanting to do for a long time, but now we have sort of more control and ability to
Mhm.
do that. So one example that we've been rolling out this year is the cards, which is like kind of all our health insurance customers, but there will have access to this like SafetyWing cards. So if you go to like a provider, you can just kind of pay with your SafetyWing card. You can just like
Hmm.
SMS, take a picture of the
Wow.
stuff, and it's much better user experience.
Yeah.
So that's one example that I'm really thrilled about. Another is we made Nomad Citizen.
Hmm.
Nomad Citizen is the beginning of a long journey, but I'm so glad to kind of get it in the MVP state of a kind of real social safety net MVP.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's not just kind of health, but also all the income protections. It's like we built it on these guaranteed income models. It's like 50K a year guaranteed income. We're just saying this is not your savings model. This is just like if you want to cap your bottom.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Across all reasons, old age, disability, unemployment, including unemployment for freelancers, which took a lot of effort to get.
Wow.
And yeah, so let's see. I mean, this is going to it's still in this like get on the wait list, kind of, we're going to roll it out very slowly because there's so many new things at once in that product. And that product also has the beginning of something that made it become citizenship. So it has the Nomad visa,
Yeah.
inclusion of my border pass, still just a handful of countries, but it's going to like grow over the year.
Totally.
And that I think will be the beginning. Like, I do think that Nomad Citizen, give it like 5 years of iterations and roadmap. And I think people will say like, that is the first internet
Yeah.
citizenship.
So for people who aren't familiar, can you walk through like, so there's SafetyWing, the company, which provides like health and insurance products with the goal to sort of be the social safety, right? And then there's Plumia. What
Yeah.
is Plumia? What's the relationship? What's different about the mission, objective, funding structure,
Yeah.
etc.?
Yeah. Plumia is an associated kind of, it's a nonprofit.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's one thing that's different. It is it it it's a kind of a community. It's a think tank, kind of like
Uh-huh.
works with governments, right? It hosts this Morocco Summit for Governments. Lauren has been a couple of times to the UN to kind of promote the nomad visas and other things. Um, and it has its own, you know, vision, excellent newsletter called the Borderless newsletter that I highly
Yeah.
recommend.
I am a subscriber.
Good, yeah. And so yeah, and its relationship with SafetyWing is that, it was obviously, we took the initiative, right? But
Hmm.
it was not formed inside of SafetyWing per se, right? It was more like we took the initiative and we're like, and the logic there was that COVID, we're like, oh, our timeline is going to accelerate 5 years
Hmm.
because of this. And it did. And we know that there is this huge lead time for internet countries. So we kind of just wanted to kind of get started with the thinking work, kind of laying the groundwork. And so that's how it was founded. And I think Lauren has been an excellent leader of that. And I think has put a lot of things in order that would
Hmm.
otherwise have been. However, Plumia and SafetyWing integration is about to be a lot more because of one particular product, which is Nomad Citizen,
Oh,
as mentioned.
yeah.
Nomad Citizen can only be bought by Plumia members.
Interesting. Okay. So you're baking in that membership for access.
Correct. So that will certainly tie Plumia and SafetyWing quite a bit
Hmm.
together. And why is that? Well, it's because Nomad Citizen is going to be invite only. You had to pass an interview to buy it. But we want to do a lot of these things to ensure the community is very kind of good and curated.
Hmm.
And in order to do that, you know, that doesn't work on like a kind of regular buying basis. But
Yeah.
one way to do it is to say, to kind of outsource it. Like, this community has good members. Let's just like, this product is only for this community.
Yeah.
And so I do think that is also how it will develop long term. I hope. I mean, we're also kind of just experimenting here. I should say, there's, we can always change our mind, SafetyWing and Plumia, but I do think that this is how it will evolve. That Plumia will become more of the sort of membership layer, and SafetyWing is a service provider,
Yeah.
the social safety net to that. And that's and the reason why it should be that way is because you need a particular set of incentives to create a good service product organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it kind of has to be like this to work really well in the future.
Yeah. I fondly remember the early days of Plumia, because I think the first time that you and I spoke directly was like right around the time that you guys sort of like launched as like an online series and then a Discord server. We were hosting like town halls and just I think like very community driven, very grassroots. And so it's like super interesting to see just how that's like shaped to where it is now, where you guys have Lauren Razavi is like the executive director, coming in, formalizing a lot of this, baking in her policy advocacy work. And so that timeline that you spoke to, right? That's like the 2030 objective of launching the Nomad Border Pass, right?
We certainly, I mean, to more complete the Nomad Border Pass is already in Nomad Citizen.
Oh, okay. Do tell me more.
Yeah, but that's like a very sort of MVP variant.
Mhm.
So what we're working towards in a multiple ways. So one is we want the countries to standardize the nomad visas. That's its own
Mhm.
little project. This sort of white paper that we have. And two, we want to kind of, but we also wanted to get started. And in order to get started, what we did is we're essentially just managing people's nomad visas for them, built into Nomad Citizen.
Yeah.
And it's included all the costs and fees and everything, so that they just have to deal with us. So we can just say like, okay, like, oh, I want to activate this one. And then we're like,
Yeah.
your visa's ready. And so that is, that's already in Nomad Citizen for just a
So
few countries.
that's
But one of those is Thailand,
yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Yay. Yeah, so that's the same SafetyWing sort of playbook of just like, okay, many different travel insurances, and rather than the user having to like interface and check, like, if I have this travel insurance, is it going to work in this place? He says, nope, you buy from SafetyWing, you have one product. We handle the user interface and the behind the scenes to make it easier for you. So is that what it is right now? It's just like a application portal tracking system,
Yeah,
communication.
kind
What is
of.
it?
Application. But I mean, we've done a lot of work in simplifying it.
Yeah.
Like really nice and easy. And yeah, like we generate a lot of the appeals ourselves, we
Mhm.
all the complexities. So yeah, so it kind of feels like filling out a more straightforward form. Um, yeah, so unfortunately we do have to wrap it up.
Mhm.
But I love talking with you. I just would like to keep going, because there's so much to this conversation that I feel like we haven't done yet, but hope to talk again.
Okay.
Yes.
So, what do you think about like when it comes to the future that you're building and you think of like the life that you think that your son might live? Like, do you think like you guys like stick around in San Francisco? Do you think he's going to become a nomad? Do you think he's going to go buy a farm in Norway? Like, what do you think his life is going to be like? Mhm.
Yeah. I hope you talk about that. I mean, San Francisco, that depends what San Francisco is, right? Right now, San Francisco is Rome. Uh, Going to Nomad, I mean, that's like, you got to do your adventure. So it's like, you can't skip that. And I
Mhm.
understand being a nomad is more than that, but you got to do your adventure. And thankfully, thanks to nomadism, that's possible. And that could be a real big one. Um, I absolutely, I can't praise enough Amagi village stuff. Like I think that I love what you're doing. I'm so thrilled about this part of our history that we can see innovation on village building, city building. I would love to
Yeah.
build in the future some villages, maybe a city myself. And I love your approach to it. I really actually like your kind of architecture style, this sort of organic thing.
Mhm.
It's kind of curious, right? It's like, it's not the sort of
Yeah.
completely, it's not bland modernism and it's also not traditional, but it's like kind of really cool and organic. And I find that really interesting and appealing. So thumbs up to your team there. I really hope you succeed. Hope I can, contribute. We'll definitely drop by at some point. But yeah, for Noah's sake, I mean, I fully believe in the future we're building. I hope he will be the first, citizen of our country, the internet country, um, and that will be a much better
Yeah.
world for him
So many fun things
and
still
for
to
many
talk
others.
about, but I can see you need
So
to get away. But thank you so
yeah,
much,
that
Sondre, for
that
the
is an
time and for
additional
just the
motivation,
history
and
lessons
I
of
can't wait to
SafetyWing
see
and just a
how it
little bit
is.
of insight into what like the culture and like founder life of Silicon Valley has been. And yeah, we'll definitely stay posted. Maybe in the future we can help host another embassy experience, a little SafetyWing Amagi collab, perhaps.
That sounds very cool. Yeah, no, I mean, I would love to. We've been doing this collab with Edge City. That's been
Mm.
absolutely amazing. And yeah, I would love to do something with Norwegian. We love the embassy experiment. It was so cool in San Francisco over October, and so many great people we met and visited, and we look forward to doing that again. And that's also, we want in the future to have a network of permanent embassies, not just pop-ups
Mhm.
around the world. We are kind of just trying to figure out when in our roadmap is the right time to do that. I do
Yeah.
fully believe that that is part of the end state, and I'm very excited about it. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Hope so.
Yeah, and I'll just want to take this opportunity. I would say, like, for me personally, you guys opening that door to the idea of like internet countries, like expanded all the circles of my work. And so it's really fun now to be here in this moment on this podcast with you, sort of turning those Venn diagrams in a circle. So thanks again, Sondre.
Thank you so much. Lovely to be here. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Lily Szabo, and this has been the Amagi Village podcast. Amagi is an ancient Sumerian word for return to mother. It's also the earliest denotation of emancipation and freedom. Not freedom through escape, but through return, through restoration, integration, through rebirth. The world is quickly changing, and the myth of modernity is coming undone. Progress is not linear, and to thrive in the coming age, we can't keep living in the matrix and just hoping for the best. It's time to embark on bold experiments. We don't claim to know what the answer is, but we know it won't come from ideology. This isn't a cult, it's not a brand. Amagi is an invitation for those who don't just play with new ideas, but are ready to live them, to walk the talk, to build the future. The Amagi Village podcast documents our journey of discovery. We're learning in public from technologists and tribal elders, from philosophers and farmers. Let's reimagine the future together. Please visit amagi.life to learn more. That's amagi.life.